Welcome back to episode 2 of our series, Creation and Evolution. Today, we're diving into a significant challenge in the evolutionary narrative, the problem of time. Simple calculations reveal that our relatively brief history doesn't provide enough time for the evolutionary model to take place. The process of evolution generates species through mutations, changes in the replication mechanism that organisms use to reproduce. Step by step, slowly but surely, one cell adds to another, until the accumulation of all these changes leads to a new species. But when a mutation occurs in an individual, how does it become dominant? That's where natural selection comes into play, positioning the mutated individual in the midst of a survival battle, where the mutation is the key to victory. The offspring who inherit this mutation also win the survival battle, leading to a change in the species. However, this doesn't mean the entire species changes at once, but rather that a reproductively isolated group of individuals somewhere undergoes change. Without such isolation, the survival battle concept loses its significance. This group must meet a certain population size criterion, as too small a group won't have enough mutations, and in too large a group, the mutation won't be a sufficient advantage to become prevalent. Let's crunch some numbers. 1. The number of species that have existed on Earth. 2. The amount of time available. And 3. How often a beneficial mutation occurred. At this point, it becomes clear that there isn't enough time, and the gap is vast, an issue known as Haldane's dilemma. Haldane, a founding biologist of neo-Darwinism, pointed out this problem. The number of species is estimated at about 5 billion, including all types of organisms from single-celled to humans, including transitional forms required by the theory of evolution. 1. The Earth's current life-supporting form is also estimated to be around 5 billion years old. 1. The frequency of mutations in nature is 1 in a billion per nucleotide pair replication, according to researchers like Drake. While we don't rely on such maximal estimates, attempting to describe an optimal scenario, we discuss a model that generates mutations on demand. We talk about reproductive isolation with 100,000 individuals, a standard entry point for evolutionary niches. Assuming that in every reproduction of this group, there is one beneficial mutation. Throughout all scientific research years, not one such beneficial mutation has been observed, but we proceed with the assumption that it exists in every reproduction. Reproduction occurs in nature once or twice a year. Suppose each beneficial mutation immediately results in the almost miraculous survival of its bearer, with all other group members perishing. In the next reproduction, the fortunate mutant produces another 100,000 offspring, all carrying the decisive mutation. In short, we're talking about one mutation per generation. So, how many generations would it take to create a new species? Well, even 100,000 mutations are not enough to account for the physical differences between humans and chimpanzees. Haldane calculated the evolution of all species, concluding that to evolve from a single cell to a human, the process needed the simultaneous existence of 100,000 new species at every point throughout evolution. It's important to understand that even if we assume a mutation is embedded in every reproduction, we must also assume that miraculously, the entire group was at risk of extinction, and the specific mutation created in that generation was the key to the required specific salvation. Hence, the mutant survived. In the next generation, another mutation was the key to survival from a completely different threat. Given that millions of years are only 5,000 times 200 years, and assuming that zoological species have been clearly and openly studied and examined in the last 200 years, if evolution achieved various zoological feats over a certain million years, we should see at least one out of every 5,000 such achievements. Remember, transitioning from one species to another takes far more than 5,000 steps. This doesn't even touch upon the extensive experiments conducted on fruit flies, which reproduce every few days, equivalent to thousands of generations for standard species. We'll delve further into these points in episode 3. Critics and further reading explore the real frequency of mutation, the work of George Wald, and critical responses to Haldane's dilemma, including from evolutionary biologist George C. Williams, who suggested the dilemma has never been resolved and calls for renewed discussion. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll explore more about the challenges and debates surrounding creation and evolution. Thank you for watching.